she is the best football expert on the planet.
I'm just playing for pride now. And my pride's gone.
We're very passionate people here.
Well, hello.
We're ready to come for the W, yeah?
These girls will smoke you, man.
Yeah.
Who, us, like this? Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough, the weekly gaming news show full of spicy takes and juicy gossip. I am one of your hosts for today, gaming content creator here at the Mirror Gaming, Aaron Potter, gaming editor Nathan Bliss, sadly still out, not able to join us this week, although he might be making an appearance in a cheeky cameo. Let's see if you can spot it. But I'm pleased to announce that joining me this week, making her return to the show, is gaming content creator Jasmine Mannan. How are you doing today, Jasmine?
Hi, I'm glad to be back. I always miss it when I'm not here. I feel so sad sitting in the comments only talking to you guys, so I'm glad to actually be back on the show this week. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back on. And even better yet, we had a little cameo from one of your cats back there. So people watching either on YouTube or Facebook, be sure to comment on Jasmine's cats. And more than one might make an appearance. But also, speaking of cat-loving friends of mine, another chap making his return to the show this week is Lewis, gaming content creator and FIFA expert. How are you doing today, Lewis? Lewis Barton.
Yeah, doing well, mate. Good to be back on again. 2 weeks in a row now, but sadly, yeah, no cats to show you, so just me.
That's okay. I'll forgive you for the lack of cats. I'm also lacking on that front as well. But yeah, if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, be sure to leave us a comment, be part of the show. We'd be more than happy to read out those comments and you can get our instant live reactions and thoughts on this week's gaming juicy news goodness. But speaking of all that juicy gaming news goodness, Starfield release date has just been announced. We'll be talking about that up top with the guys. Obviously, a lot of players have been waiting literal years for the release date to be announced, and we finally got one, but will it stick? Following that, PlayStation potentially being sued due to its involvement with foot points and FIFA packs. Are they loot boxes? Are they not? We're going to get into a debate about that. And then finally, obviously, with Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 1 coming to an end, Season 2 is expected to arrive later this week, and it's leaks all over the shop, so we'll be diving into that. And then finally, we're nearing the very end of the road when it comes to HBO's The Last of Us TV show. We've all seen it, Episode 8. It was a bit of a nail-biter, and I'm happy to talk about it and excited to talk about it with the guys a little later on in the show. But first, let's not bury the lead. Starfield release date has finally been announced. So after months of speculation, Bethesda has finally announced in a new trailer that the release date for Starfield will be September 6th, 2023, missing the planned release window of first half of 2023 that Microsoft had previously revealed. The brief announcement featured various teasers of the game, including cinematic shots of environments of someone playing it on the big screen in the background, both in third person and first person view as well. Alongside the Starfield launch announcement, head of Bethesda Todd Howard also confirmed a date for the previously confirmed Starfield Digital Direct, and that will arrive right around E3 season a little later on this summer on June 11th, 2023, where the studio will hopefully go into more details about the game. So Jasmine, Lewis, Starfield, obviously one of the big AAA exclusive releases for Microsoft later on this year. It needs all the help it can get. It needs to continue the momentum after releasing Hi-Fi Rush recently. I'm absolutely sick of the sound of my own voice. Jasmine, what are your thoughts on Starfield finally getting a release date?
I am excited that it has got a release date, and I know that a lot of people are disappointed that Microsoft didn't really live up to their promise of the first half of 2023. But I think sometimes you have to just kind of take what you can get, especially with games like AAA games that are always being pushed back. It's really common now to have things pushed back, especially with COVID and everything. So many different games got pushed back during that season, and I think a lot of fans nowadays, you just get used to it. And I would rather have the game come out later than it was originally promised and be actually, full and complete and not released with tons of bugs, aka Cyberpunk. I'm way more happy to wait a few extra months than have to play through it when it's not finished. So that's my opinion on it, but I know that that's not what everybody thinks. People are always just no, I'd rather play it even if it's crap. I'd rather just play it. But do you actually think that, or are you just saying that? Come on.
Yeah, it's true. And I think you make a pretty astute comparison with the Cyberpunk 2077 point, because obviously that was another big open world RPG that people had high expectations for. It came out at launch, it was in an absolute mess, glitches everywhere, and people struggling to even complete the game. Xbox consoles shutting themselves down. I think the fact that Starfield has been delayed again and again and again, because let's not forget, originally this was meant to release on 11/11/21, 10 years after that original Skyrim release date. I think there's a reason that Xbox and Bethesda are being especially careful. So hopefully when it arrives on September 6th, it launches in a good state. Lewis, do you have any thoughts on Starfield's release date, and do you plan on playing the game when it comes out?
I mean, I'm excited for the release, definitely. And I think, like Jasmine mentioned there, the whole gaming world probably learnt from Cyberpunk about, don't rush things. And I think a lot of people will be on the side of, I want to play it when it's ready, rather than I want to play it just because it's out. So yeah, I think, September release date, obviously that's a good time for it to be coming out. And let's just hope it is ready this time.
Yeah, I'm like Jasmine mentioned, this game was meant to be released during the first half of 2023. We had that leak a couple weeks ago on the GOG Galaxy app that seemingly suggested that Starfield was going to come out June 29th, which would have just seen Microsoft hit its release window. So the fact that now they've been confident enough to give the September 6th release date is quite heartening. But at the same time, it does indicate to me that something behind the scenes might potentially be going on, that the fact that this game's been delayed again and again and again. I'll come right out and say, full hands up, I am very, shall we say, trepidatious about the Starfield release date, because we all know that Skyrim, when it came out, was a bit of a glitchy mess. Fallout 76, which is the last major game that Bethesda published in terms of that type of genre, was also a very glitchy mess, despite it not working on it directly. So I feel like Bethesda has a lot to sort of prove. Again, not to keep drawing comparisons with the Cyberpunk thing, but going into Cyberpunk 2077's release, CD Projekt Red was kind of thought of as this prestigious developer that was good to its fans. It was just coming off of The Witcher 3 and it could do no wrong. Whereas I think, it'd be silly if Bethesda wasn't looking at that and thinking, we need to get Starfield right. And already we can see that somebody's chiming in on the chat. It is our good old friend Gigi. Gigi says, regarding to the Starfield release date, I'm happy about the delay. Gives me time to actually get through my pile of shame. And yeah, that's actually a good point that Gigi brings up. This year already has been quite stacked. Before, as we enter the new financial year coming up into April, we've already seen massive AAA releases in terms of like Dead Space and Hi-Fi Rush, as I mentioned earlier. We've got Resident Evil about to come out. Starfield is a big, meaty game that's going to take multiple hours to enjoy, tens of multiple hours, if it's as big as Bethesda are leading us to believe it is. Jasmine, do you plan on playing this game at release, or are you just going to be too busy playing other things at the time?
I think anyone that knows me knows that I'm not a single player story game type of person anyway. I get really bored when I'm playing games by myself. So, and a lot of people always ask me, like, how can you get bored? The story's so entertaining. Like, that's obviously the point of playing games. But for me, it's just not really, it doesn't sit. I just get bored so quickly. So I'm not sure with Starfield. I feel like as we get close to the time, I'll be able to make the decision, because I kind of want to see, reviews of it, see what other people think of it first, and then maybe I'll commit. But as of right now, it's kind of a no. I don't think I'm going to play it. But that's nothing against Starfield. It's more just I am not a story game person. And as I've spoken about many a time on the podcast, in terms of space games, I really liked Astroneer, and that's not going to come through in Starfield. Like, you're not going to be able to just have a sandboxy time and find random things from the environment and glue them all together to make whatever monstrosity you're trying to make. You're just really not going to get that, I think, with Starfield. And for me, it's not going to hit, I don't think. But who knows? Maybe it'll be the best game of all time, the best story game. It'll finally get me into story games. Who knows?
I mean, the way that Xbox and Bethesda are talking about it, they certainly want it to be. But I think you make a very good point, because unlike games like, say, No Man's Sky or Astroneer, which are games that many players have been quick to point comparisons with Starfield to, this game wants to be everything to everyone. And I know Lewis agrees.
Yeah, I think Unlike Jasmine, I'm a big fan of story games. But my main game is FIFA. So the fact it's come around September time, I don't think I'll be watching it, playing it there and then, because that's similar to when FIFA's supposed to come out. So, or EA Sports FC in this case. But yeah, like Jasmine, I think I'll be willing to wait until the reviews come through, see how it does. If it's a big glitchy mess, I can wait until it gets sorted out, and probably save some money and time.
Well, you bring up a good point about saving money, because of course I think, just because us three here aren't necessarily the biggest fans of Starfield, obviously there's a lot of hype between this game. Whenever we write articles about it on the Mirror Gaming website, it always does great for us. And but it's launching straight into Xbox Game Pass as a first party exclusive. So I think that if ever people have got an excuse, EA Sports FC, as it's called, it comes out around a similar time. You're absolutely right, Lewis. And although it's a very different type of game, I can see some people sort of like dipping in to check it out. Like, will this rub me the right way? Will this finally get me back into single player games? Jasmine seems to like that. Was that because you're a cat? But no, does the Xbox Game Pass factor sort of like tempt anybody else? Lewis, I know you said that, FIFA, or what used to be FIFA, but can you see this giving the game a go just for a little while at least?
I tend to be one of those. I don't usually get games on release unless it's like a FIFA game, because I know what to expect from it. So I still think I'll wait, but I can understand why people would like to maybe dip in and give it a go. Yeah, with the Game Pass.
Yeah. I see GG in the chat again is saying exactly when they would like to play the game, and it's as simple as day one, baby. And that's the thing. Like, would you rather pay $70 or the equivalent in the UK to play a big AAA game? I think for better or for worse, it's well documented on this show that I have issues with Xbox Game Pass, but it is great for getting people to try games they might not otherwise buy. So obviously the other side of this story is that Todd Howard, the head of Bethesda, as part of this announcement, revealed that we're going to be getting a Starfield Direct, and that's actually coming June 11th. So, which is interesting because June 29th, as mentioned earlier, was the previously leaked release date. So the fact that we're not getting, more information between now and then until a date where we previously thought we were going to actually see the game release is quite shocking. Because obviously we had the Xbox Developer Direct in January, where we learned more information about Redfall, Forza Motorsport, and that's where Hi-Fi Rush released. But yeah, that kind of shocks me a little bit. Lewis, do you have anything to say on the subject?
I mean, yeah, you've asked us quite a few questions now, so I thought I'd go back to you. What are you looking forward to this game?
Well, this is the elephant in the room, isn't it? Because I've sort of been dancing around it. I've asked you guys whether or not you're looking forward to it. You've been honest with me, so I guess the only thing I can do is be honest with you and say I don't think Bethesda's games, for as ambitious and sort of open worldy as they are, I felt like at least within that initial launch window, they always seem to be a glitchy mess. Like, I unfortunately had the misfortune to review Fallout 76 at the time. And again, even though that wasn't a Bethesda game proper, it was just a pain to play. So my hope is that by finally, settling on a hard release date of September 6th, that they've taken the time to actually look at the little bits and not force it out, which there is a temptation to do. But luckily, they've got Xbox money. They've got Microsoft money. Now they don't have to worry about costs or, sort of like burn rate. So I think that has something going for it. Jasmine, I know you said that you're not particularly especially interested about the single player side of things when it comes to Starfield. But as I mentioned, we've got the Starfield Direct coming later in June. I'm just totally curious. What is the one thing they could show off as part of that Direct that might potentially get you interested?
I think this is like the most obvious answer that you guys are expecting from me, but a multiplayer mode. It's probably not going to happen. I feel like it's always been like Starfield is going to be a single player story game. It's not going to have multiplayer, at least for the foreseeable future anyway. Who knows? Maybe if I pester them enough and talk about it enough in the podcast, they'll do it. But I think that that's what I would want to see. I'd want to be able to play it with friends. I feel like when you have such an insanely amazing game in terms of like environment, from what we've seen anyway, I think that is something that you want to be able to enjoy with your friends. But maybe that's just my perspective because I love playing games with people. But that's what I would like to see from Starfield Direct. And to be completely honest with you, I'm not interested enough in the game to really care about anything else they're going to say, because it does feel like between now and then, all they're going to show off at Starfield Direct is probably going to be like gameplay footage, which I feel like people will already sort of know what to expect from gameplay footage now that they've revealed the environments and stuff like that, and they're just going to do more of this. Look at how beautiful space looks, and it's like, yeah, we already know. You know, like, space looks great, that's the point. And I feel like that's what they're going to show off. Like,
I just
don't
want them
know.
to put that on all the promotion, like "space looks great" in quotes, Jasmine, Mannan, and then they can
Yeah,
sell the
but
game
that's
on the back
but
of
that's
that.
the thing, right? That's what they're trying to like profit off of. That's what No Man's Sky did too. It's like, wow, look at space. It's like this environment in gaming that's not been explored so much.
Yeah.
Because with gaming, you can go all around the whole bloody world. You can get any environment that you want to play in, under the water, on land, in deserts, everything. So now they're like, yeah, let's finally do space. But it's kind of like, I want to see more of what the story is actually going to entail, but I just feel like they're not going to give that away.
Well,
You
that's
know?
interesting, considering that you're not into single-player games, but you want to see more of the story in terms of a reason to actually spend time in this world, I guess.
Yeah, it needs a good hook. It needs a good story. If there's something about the story that they give away at Starfield Direct where I'm like, okay, now I need to play it,
Yeah.
then maybe that will get me into it. You know, because that's the thing. Like, maybe I don't find single-player games interesting because I've never really felt attached to a story before.
You have been watching The Last of Us with the rest of us, though, right? Haven't you? Or at
I
least some of
have,
it?
yeah, I have. But I find it much more entertaining to consume media by watching it than by playing it. Like, if I can
Yeah.
watch it, I'll just watch it. I don't know.
But it's interesting you say that the multiplayer side of things would bring you in, because I agree. Like, they've very much been talking about it as a single player game. I think Todd Howard was asked about it before, and he's like, we think about this as a single player game first and foremost. None of their games have been multiplayer before without mods, I think I'm correct in saying. But obviously with the No Man's Sky comparison, that was a game which, let's be honest, it was a single player game, despite what Hello Games was touting in that it's multiplayer, but you won't be able to meet each other because there are so many infinite planets in the sky. It was eventually discovered that, oh no, they had to add that in properly later on. And I'm kind
Yeah.
of wondering, because I know, Jasmine, you won't be the only person hoping to experience this world of planets with friends, whether or not they could even add multiplayer if they wanted to retrospectively, because it seems like with this engine, in my personal opinion, it's shown its age already now. I don't know if they could retrospectively add that at all. But if they do, you heard it here first on the Mirror Gaming walkthrough. Aaron, Jasmine, and Lewis, we're going to squad up and we're going to go discover ourselves some planets together in Starfield for sure.
I'm so confident that they won't add a multiplayer mode that I'll agree to that.
Okay.
Not that you
I'm-
guys are bad at games. Not in that way at all. Just that, you know, Lewis's main game is FIFA. I'm not sure how many transferable skills he'll have there for Starfield.
Yeah. Lewis,
Yeah, I think
correct me if
I'll be carried quite a bit.
correct me if I'm wrong, Lewis, but the thing that they should show you during the Starfield Direct is if there's some random packs that you could unlock ships in and pay money for, then that might get you into Starfield potentially.
I mean, you never know. I mean, that leads us straight on to our next subject, doesn't
Smooth
it?
segue, Aaron. Smooth.
Yeah, that is true. But before we do segue, I will say we've got gaming editor Nathan Bliss in the chat here as always, and he wants to chime in with his Starfield thoughts. Because I think I'm right in saying that Nathan is, out of the four of us anyway, he's one of the most excited for the game.
Definitely,
And he chimes
yeah.
in. Yeah. He chimes in and says, I'm glad it's a few months after Zelda. Gives me time to get through that before getting stuck in. And this is from a man who's put in God knows how many hours into Zelda Breath of the Wild. So the fact that he's still willing to play Zelda and he's lining himself up for Starfield straight after, yeah, I think it bodes well. But that's a factor I didn't even acknowledge, actually, because Zelda is a game that you can play forever. Starfield is essentially promising to be the same. So that might have played into Xbox's strategy. Who knows? But anyway, Starfield is coming September 6th, 2023. Or is it? A lot can happen until then. You know, there's 6 months until it comes out. It's not the first time it's been delayed. But I'm sure Phil Spencer won't let us down. Or will he? So moving on to our next story. PlayStation issues refunds after an Austrian court rules FIFA Ultimate Team Packs as gambling. And yes, regular Mirror Gaming walkthrough viewers, that is why we've got Lewis Barton on the show again. You've guessed correctly. So a big story in the ongoing debate. of are loot boxes in video games gambling? A court in Austria has ruled FIFA Ultimate Team Packs as a form of gambling, with PlayStation now having to refund several FIFA players who sued Sony back in 2020. So this has been ongoing for quite a while now. The players, which included one minor, sued Sony after purchasing FIFA points to buy the FIFA packs through the PlayStation Store, and now they've been ordered to repay. Hold your breath, guys. We're talking mega bucks. PlayStation, in a court of law, have been ordered to repay 338 euros and 26 cents to the plaintiffs. So we're not talking mega money, but obviously the main through line for the story here is, you know, our FIFA packs gambling. And Gigi once again asks that question directly to Lewis in the chat, setting me up very nice and smoothly. She says, what does Lewis think about foot packs being gambling? Are they terrible or just a bit of fun? So Lewis, give us your top level, as a resident FIFA expert, give us your top level thoughts about foot packs, FIFA Ultimate Team.
I mean, personally, it's never been something that I've really put money into because the odds of you getting something back are always extremely low and it's completely random. And, you know, I've seen dozens of people online who have not got gambling addictions from that. I mean, that is a leading case for it. There's a lot of cases where people have said they've ended up getting gambling addictions, and it starts off from playing games like FIFA when they're younger. But it definitely, you know, plays into that. But yeah, I personally, I'd class packs as gambling. Remember, FIFA is an E for everyone rated game. Yet you can put real money. Yeah, but then you can put real money into it with a chance of getting something worth less or more than what you put in. And you know, when you open a pack, you'll see in the video here, depending on what you get different animations. The better item you get loads of fireworks, players walking out, rare animations that is, I'd say, appealing to younger people. They want to see those. They want to get the better players. If you're in school talking to your friends about who you got in FIFA over the weekend, you know, if your friend goes, "Oh, I packed this person who's, you know, worth 300,000 coins," and you didn't pack that, you're gonna want to go home and get someone worth the same value just to one up them. So
Yeah.
I'd say, personally, I class it as a form of gambling. There has been a case in the UK. I think it was a 22-month ongoing consultation, I think, and it came to a conclusion recently. I think it was last year, where the UK government found evidence that links loot boxes with problem gambling, but decided against a ban, instead calling for companies like EA to bring measures into play to keep young players safe.
Wow, so it's even trickling down to multiple countries by this point. And obviously, Mirror Gaming walkthrough users, producer Will has set me up to look like a fool right now, because I was just about to continue teasing Nathan Bliss's cheeky cameo. There he is in the top right corner there. Nathan, we know you're watching. And Lewis, you were actually on stream with Nathan that day. Did he, I can't remember how long you were streaming for, but this is a good case study, really. How much money did he pump into the game then? And did he get anything of worth, in your opinion?
So you can earn packs in FIFA in other ways than putting money into the game. So if you complete squad building challenges or objectives, for example, you can earn packs without spending a penny. And that's what Nathan did. He saved packs for a few weeks, then it opened up after the Team of the Year promo dropped to try and get someone good. In that video there, that was the one best pull that he got the whole live stream we did. And he saved, I'd say, like near 100 packs in total. And in those 100 packs, he got really one player worth of value. And it wasn't even like one of the best ones. And, you know, when FIFA comes out, you see a lot of streamers put tens of thousands of pounds into the game, and they'll get nothing worth that value in return. But at the same time, you know, I could go on tomorrow, put £10 on and get millions back in return. It's pure luck. It's pure randomness. And I think with the Austrian court case, that's what the players were making the case over. They felt that FIFA's random pack system was unfair, and the court agreed, thereby making classing FIFA packs as a form of gambling.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it's hard to disagree with them, because we see this come up time and time again, and it always seems to be FIFA that are the ones at the center of it all, with good reason, because they're the big boys in the loot box world. As I understand it, you know, feel free to disagree with me, Lewis, but I feel like it's always FIFA that are at the center of these loot box scandals. So yeah, I mean, you know, the Netherlands, Belgium, the UK, now Austria. all these different countries' governments are having to rule and weigh into the debate. But honestly, you've left me a bit staggered because we prep for the podcast. You know, we know what we're talking about ahead of time. But Lewis has just taken me aback because he's absolutely right. FIFA 23 is an E for everyone game. But how can that possibly be right when minors can put money into the game? It's very bizarre. Jasmine, I know you're a big Overwatch head. I believe that's what they call people that play Overwatch heads. Correct me if I'm wrong. And obviously you're mainly playing Overwatch 2 at the moment. But I remember back in the day, the original Overwatch, loot boxes was that game's primary method of, I believe it was mainly cosmetics as well. But maybe as a point of comparison, what's your take on the whole our FIFA Ultimate Team Packs gambling or not?
I actually didn't play Overwatch 1. I only started playing with Overwatch 2, and there aren't loot boxes, as far as I'm aware, in Overwatch 2. However, I would say main game has always been League of Legends, and they implemented a loot box system in League of Legends called Hextech Crafting, where you can buy literal loot boxes, and then you have to buy keys separately. You can't buy boxes with keys. You have to buy them separately. It's so weird. So you have to spend even more money to be able to open the box after you've bought it. And then you can open them and they'll have like skins, and League of Legends have a few skins in their game which are worth like hundreds of pounds as well. So it's like, oh, you have a chance to bag this rare skin. But I think the thing is that like there is some form of value to these cosmetics if you assign them value in League of Legends, but there's not actual monetary value because you can't like sell them. So I feel like it feels a bit different. But the main point of comparison I want to talk about is CS:GO. I feel like that was the original loot box gambling system. You could literally spend money to buy loot boxes, and then you'd get skins in them, and then you could straight away stick that skin for sale on Steam for people to buy, and then you get the money back. And everyone was able to do that. Like, I think the game was rated 18 to be fair, but there's it's so easy to get around Steam's systems. You just enter a date of birth, you just enter whatever, and then that's it. You're in the clear. You can then pump money into it, and it's very evidently gambling. Like, the definition of gambling I pulled up actually is taking risky action in the hope of a desired result. So that is gambling. And I feel like it was so strange that it was just so normal for kids, like young kids, to spend money on loot boxes in different games. And then like, all these streamers used to be like, oh, you even saw it in that clip, Nathan, I'm going to hold the mouse upside down to see if it helps. I'm going to like press the mouse with my toe. I'm gonna get my girlfriend to come into the stream to press the mouse. They used to do all sorts of weird things, right, to like make the stream more entertaining. And essentially it was them gambling and trying to make it more appealing and more fun for kids to watch them gamble. And then obviously those kids will see their favorite streamer bag like £100 skin, and they'll be like, yeah, I want to go and do that. And they were able to. There was no barrier stopping them.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, I can't imagine growing up and having to keep up with my friends on the playground in terms of, oh, you got this cool skin, or you got this footballer. Oh, then I'm going to run home and do that as well. Like, the worst case of that for me was Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But at least then, it's a physical product you've got. And then we won't go into the entire Beyblade saga I got swept into. But resident Mirror Gaming news goblin Scott McRae once again is joining us in the YouTube chat, saying that FIFA should pull an NBA Jam and put, he says, stupid teams in FIFA. I mean, I don't know what he means by stupid. Well, I do. He says Obama and the Beastie Boys. I'd love to see that. I think we talked last week, Lewis, about when Marvel had a collaboration with FIFA. So they have been known to dabble with some crossovers there. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but, if they were to dabble with that sort of thing, that would at least be somewhat more appealing to me rather than players who are already in the game and stuff. But I don't know. The loot box scandal doesn't seem to be going away for FIFA, which is why it makes it even more interesting that when FIFA 23 transitions to EA Sports FC, to see like how they handle it. So in terms of that transition, Lewis, do you think that EA are going to change anything with how the loot box, the foot system is handled before then?
Personally, I don't think so. I mean, over the last few years, we've seen like FIFA points and pack value, I mean, as in how much you need to spend, increased drastically. I remember FIFA 12, when I think, or maybe FIFA 13, when points started being a thing. It wasn't much options available. There weren't many options available for how much you could spend. But nowadays, you know, there's packs which are worth £30 for one pack. You know, there's dozens of different types of packs out there that can cost up to 500,000 coins in game value. And it's so easy to spend money in the game now. And that's why EA makes such a big profit on FIFA every single year. So EA Sports FC, I couldn't see them changing the way people can spend points because it's such a huge income for them. But yeah, I think with this whole debate of are loot boxes and video games classed as gambling or a form of gambling, FIFA is always a leading case. There are so many UK, European countries now trying to, you know, lock down on that. In the, like you mentioned earlier, the Netherlands. Well, first of all, Belgium, since 2018, loot boxes and video games have been banned in FIFA as well. In the Netherlands, I think it was 2020, a court in Netherlands ruled it as a classic gambling and then said to EA, every single week, I think it was, I got it here, every single week that EA didn't remove FIFA packs from the game, they were issued a €500,000 fine, which was maximum got to 10 million. But that was recently overturned and the fine was cancelled in 2022. So you're seeing how a lot of countries are trying to, you know, bolt down on FIFA points. It's how it relates to gambling, but I can't see EA backing down until something really big happens against them. And I think this case in Austria, you know, the fact that no, it's not EA, it's PlayStation and Sony have had to, you know, issue a refund or a payment to players who have sued them over the point that it's gambling. That's a really big step in the direction of getting it, of stopping it. Yeah.
I mean, that's a point in itself, isn't it? That PlayStation is the one being sued here, when it should probably be EA. I don't know what the legal semantics regarding that are.
It's really interesting, actually. Yeah, I think in the original report, yeah, they claim that it was Sony who they sued in the end, and PlayStation. It's because they purchased the points to buy the pack to the PlayStation Store, hence why they're suing Sony. But it's interesting to see why they didn't go down the route of EA, as it's their game. But we know little details on that so far. But now I think in Austria, now FIFA points packs are still in the game, but it now has to be classified as gambling game that requires a license.
Interesting. Yeah, we've got Nathan chiming in on the YouTube chat again, saying that recently a US federal court judge dismissed a related case, noting that the lack of any real-world transferable value to items takes them outside of the gambling laws. So we're kind of playing semantics here. It's like a bit of a loophole that EA continue to ride the coattails on. And I will say, my heart goes out to another person in the chat. We've got Sky Rifter chiming in. Cool name, by the way. I wish my mum christened me with that name, Sky Rifter. Says, me at 13 getting an $80 skin out of a box and getting scammed. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, it happens to the best of us. But as you can see, that people, you're either really, it seems to be with this whole loot box situation, you're either really ecstatic about what you get or you're really disappointed. It's like, you know, a contrast of two extremes, isn't it? And there is no comfortable middle ground. And I think maybe that's why there's all this accent always being leveled against EA. GG chiming in again. She says, this is a problem with old people that don't understand video games and their popularity. Like Jasmine said, there's whole marketplaces for this stuff. And even without that, it has value. So again, it's a hot topic for debate. I mean, we're just three people, two of which don't even play FIFA, but we've all brushed up against the loopback conundrum at some point. And as you can see, everyone has an opinion.
But this is the thing. So with stuff like CSGO, if this is the definition that EA want to sort of like push, is that, oh yeah, if there's no monetary value to the items that you're bagging, then it doesn't count as gambling, if that's what they're claiming. So does that then confirm that, okay, when you're playing games like CSGO and you're actually bagging these items that you can then stick on a marketplace, that it does definitely count as gambling? But also in terms of like, can you like swap players around between each other the same way you can with like trading cards or something in FIFA? Is that a thing?
I know just the person to ask. He's on the line.
There used to be a mode in FIFA a few years ago now, where in the FIFA transfer market you could do trade offers. So rather than purchasing a player for coins. You could offer players in a trade offer for that player. But that was then shut down quite quickly by EA because a lot of people were using it to sell coins. So people would, send players of massive value in return for a player worth way less. And in a way to stop coin selling in third-party sites, they got rid of that quite quickly. And it's something that a lot of people do want to bring back. And if they can find a way to do it without,
But that then
selling,
furthers
I
the
think it'd
point
be
of
great.
it being gambling, because then they can use the marketplace to it gives some type of like monetary value to these players that you're packing. So that then furthers the point. So they are trying to implement systems, or they have done in the past, to give these players monetary value. But now they're claiming, oh, they don't have monetary value. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think it was in FIFA 21, there was this whole massive investigation in case where people were managing, I think they were at EA reportedly, were trying to sell loaded up accounts for thousands of pounds to people. So it was using the in-game players if they had an account full of these really good players, or to load up a player into someone's account. They were pretty much on the black market offering money to then, or accepting money to then put these players into these accounts. So there has been in the past a bit of controversy around that. So yeah, I think it's something that needs to be sorted out. And I can't stress enough how easy it is to spend money on that game, because when I was younger, I used to ask my parents, like, for Christmas, can I have some FIFA points? And they'd get like a £50, which is a lot of money, £50 worth of FIFA points. If there's a promo pack out, you could spend all that £50 in opening 2 or 3 packs. And then it's gone in like a minute.
What?
And then if you get
That's
nothing,
insane.
you're then thinking, yeah, it's because you can
That feels
get,
worse than putting it on a slot machine.
so yeah, it's like you can
Your odds are
spend
way worse.
£80.
Yeah.
You can spend pretty much £80 in one purchase of FIFA points. And if there's a promo pack out, like recently there was one which was worth 3,000 points for one pack, which is the equivalent of just under £30 for one pack. You could open, hundreds of pounds worth of packs in, say, 2-3 minutes, get no one, and then you've lost all this money, you've got nothing in return, and then people will start chasing their losses like they do in gambling. So it is a form of gambling.
100% it is. I think everyone on this podcast has agreed that it is a form of gambling, whichever way EA wants to sway it. It just made me think of that. The way you put it then made me think about that Ian Beale meme where he's like, I've got nothing left. But Gigi asks a good question in the chat, as she's wont to do quite often, actually. She says, how much has Lewis spent on FIFA points, with the googly eye emoji? You may not want to disclose that information.
No. When I was younger, it used to be obviously a lot more, because I played with a lot of people who would put money in the game, and you wanted to have the best team possible when you played against them. But as I've got older, I've realized that the chances of actually getting something worth value or money back in game in these packs is so low, it's not worth it at all. So I'm more of someone who doesn't put money into the game at all anymore. I'll try and grind my way to getting good players, and, road to glory at the game, but it's rare I'll put money on anymore, because it's not worth it in what you get back.
Yeah, well, I'll just end the conversation by saying that I'm pleased to work with two FIFA experts that got heads on their shoulders, Lewis and Nathan, that they'd rather find alternate ways to open FIFA packs for the good of journalism, rather than pouring money into EA's pockets. I'll end this FIFA chat, as I do every FIFA chat, by saying, EA, if you want me to play FIFA again, Alex Hunter, what's he been up to? Bring back the journey. Let's go. Leave this FIFA point business behind and bring back Alex Hunter. But continuing with the FIFA train, we do actually have one more slightly more positive story, to talk about. I think it's a positive story. So this week, EA Sports announced a new partnership with National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL, and the National Women's Soccer League Players Association. From March 15th, all 12 NWSL teams will be present within kickoff modes, and that includes Classic, House Rules, and Volta, making it the first time that NWSL teams are in a video game ever. 4 NWSL stadiums will also be added into the game, along with authentic kits, starheads, trophies, and new celebrations. And then, if that wasn't enough, on the same day, EA are adding the Women's Champions League into FIFA 23, available to play in kickoff and tournament mode. So obviously today is International Women's Day. There's an argument to say that EA has timed this announcement pretty well with that. I can already tell Jasmine's got some thoughts, some heavy breathing, some eye roll action. Nathan Bliss in the chat is asking, women's football career mode, when? I think that's what a lot of people want to know. But Jasmine, you've obviously got thoughts on this. What do you think about Women's League coming to FIFA 23?
I think one thing about stuff like this is that it happens so frequently, not because they think it's the right thing to do, but because it's great for PR.
Yeah.
And that's what really annoys me about, like, I don't know. I don't know. I think EA, they probably do know it's the right thing to do, but that's still not why they've done it. They've done it for PR purposes, because they know that if they do it, it makes them look good. And it does seem strange that it's so coincidentally timed with International Women's Day. And I know Lewis did say that there are other reasons for it to have been announced and everything when it has been, but I still just feel like, I don't know, I still have these underlying opinions where I'm kind of like, no, I don't know. I just feel like they always do stuff like this for PR purposes, not just EA, but gaming companies in general. They do like skin releases or whatever else to coincide with International Women's Day. But what does it all come down to? Making money. They're not releasing a skin for all the women players to have for free. People still have to pay for it, So that's just my take on International Women's Day as a PR stunt in general, not really related to FIFA. Sorry to go off topic, but yeah, I don't know. I think that it is a big coincidence that it's at the same time, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you there, because truly, if EA cared about this, I think Lewis will agree with me in saying that this should be there from day one. There should be parity across the women's teams and the men's teams for stuff like this. And it's not a coincidence that it's happened around International Women's Day. But I will be interested, not to keep on going on about EA Sports FC, but if there is, this want to represent women in football this way, as there quite rightly should be, put them in day one on EA Sports FC alongside the men's teams. I think that's the way you prove once and for all how serious, and I'm talking to EA here as if I know them. EA, put them in day one. But Lewis, what are your thoughts on this? Are you excited to dive back into FIFA 23 and play in the women's teams?
Yeah, again, I think it's great that there's more women's teams added into the game, but you can see how much the game's grown over the past few years. This year, the addition of the French League, Women's League, and the WSL, the British English Women's League as well. They were both added into the game from the go. Before that, all we had is international teams that were rarely updated, and it did look bad on EA's part that the women's game was growing so much, yet they were making no effort to add it into the game. So it's really good to see that they've added in the NWSL now, because football in America, women's football in particular, is huge. They got some of the world's best players playing in the States. And I think the addition of the Champions League as well, and added 4 new teams. I think it's Wolfsburg, Frankfurt, Real Madrid, and Juventus are all coming into the game on March 15th as well. I understand what you mean about, with Women's International Day today. Then think it's a PR thing, but I think it is because the Women's League in America restarts March 25th, I want to say, or 26th. So I think the timing might just be a bit coincidental. But like you mentioned with EA Sports FC, I can see them adding a lot more into the game. You saw in the trailer when EA released the FIFA 23 trailer this year, there was a lot of inclusion in the women's team. But it's the fact that they're also adding stuff like women's authentic kits, stadiums, and I'm hoping that next year, and I think it should be guaranteed, in my opinion, that it should definitely be in the game, a women's career mode, because right now it can get a bit boring that the fact that it's only in kickoff modes or online friendlies or tournament modes. It's mainly single player or just against other people playing with women's teams. So the addition of a women's career mode would be really welcome, I think. Yeah, definitely.
So we've got a bit of a debate happening in the YouTube chat at the moment. Gigi's posited a really good question. I'm going to aim this one at you, Lewis. No pressure. But she says, how receptive is the FIFA community to the women's mode? Which, I think we've all got a general idea about how a certain kind of crowd can be when things like this get announced. So I was just wondering, in the wake of this announcement, Lewis, has there been much feedback from the community?
I think a lot of what I've seen is people thinking, there's a lot of leagues that still aren't in FIFA as a whole. So one that stands out to me that I always see in comments when new things are into the game is that the Greek league's not included in the game currently. There's a lot of nations as well that you can't play with in the game in kickoff modes and stuff. So some people are a bit, I think that's a personal preference. If you're from Greece and the Greek league's not in the game, you're going to be annoyed. But when FIFA 23 first came out and they announced, WSL, the English League, was included, that got a really good reception because it's one of the biggest leagues in the world for women's football. And obviously, with English Premier League being one of the biggest worlds as well for the men's team, it's really good to see the women's team get that as well. So it's been a mixed reception, I'd say. You get some people who are still like, oh, it's a men's game, it should be men's only, but they got that backwards mindset. But you can't deny that the women's game is growing very fast.
When was the last time the English men's team won the European Championship, Lewis?
Exactly.
There we go.
but yeah, I mean, having worked in women's football in the past, I've seen it grow just in the short time I was in the game. So, and you see, they sell out the men's stadiums with ease nowadays as well. Some teams like Arsenal and Chelsea, like you said, the England's women's team, the Lionesses, did so well in the Euros. So, it's such a growing game that it's obviously going to be included in the world's biggest football game as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I will say that, Jasmine, I think me and Lewis are in agreement that there might be something sus in terms of the timing. Maybe not, but either way, more representation for women's football can only ever be a good thing. And I'm excited to see that carry on into when FIFA relaunches as EA Sports FC later on this year. But now, a pretty big news. There might be a somewhat big event happening this week in the world of live service games. A little indie title called Fortnite. You may have heard of it. It's gearing up for what we assume to be Chapter 4 Season 2. And there are lots of leaks happening around at the moment indicating that the season's coming. There are giant red rifts in the sky. So who else better to pepper with questions about what to expect potentially from the upcoming season than resident Fortnite expert Jasmine Mannan. So Jasmine, you're a regular Fortnite player. You enjoy the game. And I'm just kind of wondering, what do you make of all these leaks that we've seen so far? We're seeing Battle Pass information, skins, and obviously, as I just mentioned, there's a big red rift in the sky, indicating that something big can come through. But yeah, what are your thoughts on everything happening with Fortnite currently?
Well, so far, obviously, everything, I do want to preface by saying this is all leaked information. We still haven't got any official confirmation. And even though the leaked information, which has come from Twitter users HypeX and SheenaBR, is most of the stuff has been stuff that's been found in the game's code. It does then sort of give you high hopes, but we have seen stuff come into the game's code before and then not actually make it to the live game. So this could all be wrong. Please take it with a pinch of salt. However, we have seen that the new season name, logo, all of that stuff has been found to be called Mega. And then they have a new place of interest called Mega City. And this is all like a kind of cyberpunk-esque vibe, which, in my opinion, I feel like is starting to sort of become a little bit overdone off of the back of the success of Cyberpunk and loads of other games historically that have had a similar sort of like Neo Tokyo aesthetic. I feel like Fortnite is now kind of like jumping onto the bandwagon too. I think we have an image of what that is supposedly going to look like. So that's like the Fortnite map with all of the different cities and buildings in it. If producer Will can get that on or not, I'm not sure. But I just feel like, yeah, here we go. I feel like this, you can tell what they're trying to go for. And
Cyberpunk 2078 confirmed, isn't it? Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. What do you guys think about this? Do you feel like this aesthetic is getting a bit too overdone, or do you guys like it? I think we'll go over to Aaron first.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about this whole like Neo. I made a joke just then about the cyberpunk theme and stuff. It's really hot right now, but then I think it always has been as well, because obviously you've got stuff like Akira that have always been popular, the Matrix and stuff. So that cyberpunk sort of neon laden aesthetic has always proven popular. And correct me if I'm wrong, I am shocked to find out that Fortnite hasn't dabbled in this realm up until now, Jasmine. I'm sure I've seen some crazy looking skins in the past, but is this the first time that the Fortnite guys have done something strictly neon in terms of the map?
No, they have done it before. I think it was chapter 1, season 9, if I remember correctly. There have been so many seasons that if that's wrong, please forgive me. But they did do something similar in terms of like aesthetics, but I feel like they didn't lean into it as much as they're leaning into it now. So there has been a leak of the level 100 skin, which is a lady standing in front of a very nice futuristic background with fans, and you can see that it does really lean into it, including the skins this time, whereas before it was just the map.
Yeah.
So
this is very Ghost in the Shell-esque.
I was gonna say it gives you like Blade Runner vibes.
Oh, 100%. I see that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I like the aesthetic it's given off so far though, like the futuristic one. I think it's mentioned before that it might seem a bit overdone, but I think if it works, why would you change it? Like it looks great.
That's true. Yeah, I just feel like so many games are leaning into it now. Like even Stray, I felt like leaned into that as well, right? And that was something where they could have done anything, and they leaned. And this is the thing, it was successful, so you can't fault them. Stray was a really good game, really popular.
From the resident cat person on the podcast, that's not surprising to hear. Stray was a good game, newsflash.
But I don't know, I just feel like eventually you're going to get bored of it, sooner or later.
Why don't we talk about, I think we've buried a little bit of the lead here in terms of the new Fortnite stuff, because even though we've got News Goblin Scott positing characters he'd like to see come through the Rift, I think Peters Griffin is a character that may or may have linked in some files, but he also puts Lewis's dad for Fortnite, and I'd love to see that. Get Mr. Barton in there. I'd play him as the Mr. Barton skin.
Is this a reference I'm not getting?
I mean,
I'm a bit confused.
I don't know. It's just something Scott played, and just some random dude. How about the average Joe in there? But no, Gigi's already hinted at what I was going to say. Jasmine, one of your favorite anime franchises ever, is potentially rumored to be joining the Fortnite lineup soon. Tell us more about that.
One thing I'm quite disappointed about. Right, so the big news: Attack on Titan is coming to Fortnite. Right, the big news. But for some reason, it doesn't seem to be the main focus of the season. This is why I wanted to preface by saying this is the theme that they're going with. But this has nothing to do with Attack on Titan, this theme. Not at all. Right?
What, the whole
Attack
Neon
on Titan
cityscape?
No, not at all. Yeah. Attack on Titan is set, if we're talking sort of like our timeline era, it's set hundreds of years before our current modern society is. So to have this futuristic sort of setting and then link that with an anime which is set hundreds of years ago doesn't really make sense. So as a big Attack on Titan fan, and I think Attack on Titan is one of the best shows of all time, not just subjectively but objectively, as it's got the most episodes in the top 10 on IMDb.
I'm biting my tongue a lot here, everybody, just know that.
Attack on Titan is a very, very good show.
Backup.
I brought my facts.
She brought her receipts.
It's got the most episodes in the top 10 of IMDb than any other show. It is a really, really good show, and it's really popular, not just for anime fans, but a lot of people who aren't into anime use it as their sort of first show to get into it as well. I feel like that's headline worthy. I feel like that's sort of level 100 battle pass worthy, and I'm really disappointed that that's not what they're going for.
So rather, because obviously we just had a look at the lady skin, sort of woman with the fans. That is allegedly the tier 100 skin.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you managed to catch it, Jasmine, but the tier 1 skin also looks pretty cool. It's like this flaming skull dude with a long black coat, and I'm all about that. But it is kind of strange that Attack on Titan, you've got this massive IP that Jasmine, rightly or wrongly says is a big deal to so many people, and that it's still not the main focus. But what I was going to say is that, anime, Neo Tokyo, as this new segment of the map's allegedly called, it's kind of like an anime Japanese theme, because there's also leaked rumors that we could see, I believe it's Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield enter the game as well. So is it a case that Epic are kind of like spreading the concept too thin almost, rather than...
I think so. I definitely think so, because I think the thing is, with like previous collaborations that they've done, it's been like the main focus of that season, whereas now it feels like, so this season alone we've got an Attack on Titan collaboration which is sort of more on the side of confirmed than just rumors, but then we've also got a rumored Family Guy collaboration, as Scott will always keep drumming in our ears. I want to see Peter Griffin in the game. Apparently so does everyone else, because they might be bringing him in this season. We might be seeing Resident Evil 4. We might be seeing
Star Wars, was it?
Star Wars as well.
Again,
and I feel
which
like
is the weird
those are
one.
all massive franchises, right? But they're just sort of sprinkling them in. Even with Attack on Titan, people are so excited about it, but essentially all they're bringing in is like one skin of the main character, Eren Yeager, and an emote of him saluting as he does in the show. So I feel like they're not, if they're getting sort of the opportunity to do these massive collaborations, I don't know why they're not taking them a bit more like, I feel like saying that they're not taking it seriously is a bit of a big statement to say, so I'm not going to say that, but I feel like they could do more with what they have.
I see what you're getting at. It's like you want them to treat each individual franchise with the respect that they sort of like deserve, and by diluting them with these other very disparate, sort of IPs, it doesn't come across as sincere. I just want to say that with regards to Jasmine's perspective on Attack on Titan, we've got returning YouTube commenter Adam L in the chat saying that Jasmine is risking her credibility with claims like that, and I'm just saying Adam might be onto something.
Check IMDb. Pull up the receipts. Check IMDb.
Have you heard of a show called Doctor Who or The Office US? I'm just saying.
Get out. I do love The Office US, though. I will say The Office US is good. But
where's the Michael Scott Fortnite skin?
Listen here, right?
That'll be. That might get me into the game.
Yeah, there we go. Lewis is sold. I'm doing Epic's job.
Is it in the top 10 of IMDb though?
IMDb
it's
isn't
not.
the
It's
be-all
not.
and end-all of everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now you're saying that. But if the Office episodes were up there, then it'd be the most credible source, wouldn't it? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that just anime coming into Fortnite in general has been like really big, right? They've brought in like Dragon Ball and all sorts of other collaborations which have done really well, and I'm assuming made them a lot of money. So I don't get why they wouldn't go harder with Attack on Titan, given that the finale of Attack on Titan, the final season, has just started airing last weekend. It's massive again, all over social media. People are talking about it again because they take year-long breaks between each season. So now that it's back, it feels like the perfect time for them to put that collab in the game. But they're not doing it with enough oomph.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. But look, there's a giant red rift in the sky, and what else can come out of it if not a Titan?
Yeah, that is
know
what they
what I'm
do in
saying?
the game, to be fair. I mean, not in the game, in the show. There's big, massive explosions that are sort of red, yellowy, and then Titans appear.
There you
So
go. So is
that
this
might
all
be the
leading-
case. But
Is this all leading to sort of like live event where like everyone's going to have to team up to potentially take down a Titan? Like, do you see that happening?
I don't see that happening. No, I don't. I feel like they haven't geared the season towards Attack on Titan enough for it to be like the main focus of the start of it. I feel like they're going to lean way more into this like mega city, Neo Tokyo vibe and sort of play into that more. And I feel like maybe they've got Attack on Titan in there to sort of match this Japanese aesthetic, as you were saying earlier, rather than just focusing wholeheartedly on the anime.
But let's be honest, if you focus, my history with Fortnite and experience with Fortnite is somewhat limited, but is there not a chance that by focusing so exclusively on Attack on Titan, you kind of isolate, the millions of other players that play the game that potentially aren't interested in Attack on Titan, and that this is the only way to get that sort of content in there?
No, I feel like the thing is with Attack on Titan is that the way that the show is, it's basically a battle royale, the show. And I feel like that's why that if they implemented the show into the game the same way that it actually is in the show, Titans running around slaying them, like I feel like people wouldn't really be fussed whether they actually knew what Attack on Titan was or not, just because it'd make such a great concept.
I get you. Yeah.
And this is the thing, like I've literally, like, I don't watch My Hero Academia or anything like that, but I'll still go and grab all these new mythic items in Fortnite all the time and use them all the time because they're really good in the game. I don't care whether I've actually watched My Hero Academia or not.
Yeah. Well, when Michael Scott gets added as a Fortnite skin, me and Lewis will be there. Definitely. You heard it here first.
Oh,
and
100%, yeah.
it seems that Attack on Titan might be enough to get Sadie back on the Fortnite bandwagon, because she's in our YouTube comments now. She says, I wouldn't mind upping my Fortnite game as I haven't played for a while. But if there's a giant Titan, yeah, there it is right there. If there's a giant Titan, that might just be too much to resist. So obviously we've had these leaks, potentially Star Wars, because obviously the Mandalorian season 3 has just started, which makes me think we've already had Mando in the game before. This could potentially be someone like Bo-Katan, which is like another Mandalorian character. She'd be quite cool to see. But in addition to all these leaks, skin, apparently there are these tubes that players will apparently be able to like ride on while they use their weapons as well. I'm not sure if you saw that, Jasmine. Promise you I'm
That's
not
been
making it
in
up.
the game. That's been in the
Oh, is it?
game for a few seasons now, which is why it's so frustrating that this is what they do all the time. They recolor them and they're like, look, it's this new thing. But it's the same thing. It's just a different color. It's the same thing.
But is that not
Been
what
there.
Fortnite is? It's just the same thing with a different skin, season upon season upon season. I'm probably going to get cancelled after saying
No,
that.
that's true. No, that's true. So, like, just before we move on from the Attack on Titan thing, there's been this rumor that they're bringing the ODM gear into it, but it's just the same as the Spider-Man gloves that they brought out before, or the grappling hooks that they brought out before. It's just the same thing. It is. So I will let you off with that one. Yeah.
Okay.
But as well as all these leaks with all these like leaks to do with skins and all these new things, there's also been a leak about first-person mode as well, saying it's coming in the next season. Like I personally, a few games that I've played that aren't FIFA, I've liked first-person mode. So do you think that's something that will, bring new players in or players back or more players in general?
Well, first I want to ask Lewis, would it bring you back?
I mean, I've never played Fortnite. So
Would
I'll
it
play
bring
that
you
one
into it?
time. Probably not.
Did you
no.
do you play?
No, really?
First person with Michael Scott, maybe, but
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So many
Just his-
conditions.
His world's best boss mug, like as his weapon, like as he's
Yeah.
running around and stuff. That would be
And was
good.
he throwing coffee instead of shooting bullets?
Yeah, he's doing, and
parkour, obviously, yeah.
he's doing
Yeah.
parkour, and he's declaring bankruptcy to everyone he kills and stuff like that. So that'd be good. But I'd be interested because I'll be honest with you, I've still not dipped back into Fortnite. The last time I played Fortnite was on Switch, and you can imagine how that went.
That was
But,
probably terrible.
Probably terrible. I think the last time you were on the show, Jasmine, we were like ragging all over the Nintendo Switch and
Yeah,
its
we
underpowered
were.
hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Game Pass is to me is the Nintendo Switch to you, it seems. But, the last time I was even slightly tempted to go back to Fortnite was the zero build mode, because building had put me off like so much. Like I've been fortunate to visit a couple of professional Fortnite teams, and it's so impressive what they do. But literally, some of the maneuvers they're pulling off with their hands, like the way they move the mouse and stuff when they play on PC, they're like building things up into the sky. I'm like, this isn't for me. Like I can't do this. And I feel like Epic were very clever in let's just strip everything back, see if we can get more people in by simplifying things. And I think that's the goal with this alleged first-person mode as well, making it an option that might suit other people that potentially aren't being served with, Warzone maybe?
Whoa. Okay.
I'm firing all the shots this episode.
Yeah, that was rude. That was rude. But I think that's true.
I didn't say anything about Overwatch 2, so your precious is fine.
No, but I think that's true though. That's the sad thing about it. The saddest bit about that comment is that it is true. So many people have had to leave Warzone because of how crap. Not my words. I don't play it. How crap it's become, how buggy it is, and I think people are just feeling really disappointed with it. So they obviously are now looking for alternative options. And I feel like because Fortnite is so popular, it feels like it's always there, and it's free to play. So I feel like it's easy to just tell the squad, you know what, we're done with Warzone, let's get on Fortnite. It's got first person now. I could see that being a thing. I personally don't think I would play first person mode, but I could see it becoming way more sort of like of interest to so many people.
So it'd be interesting to see if whether or not the first person mode would be added like almost as a separate playlist, or if, before loading into a game, players are given the option to either play first person or third person, or if they can just change on the fly. Like zero build mode obviously had to be its own thing, but I think Epic might want to experiment with that potentially.
I feel like they would have it as a separate mode, like how they did with zero build, because
sorry, I'm
otherwise
just
people
focusing
will
on your
complain.
cat at the moment.
Yeah,
Jasmine.
doing a big stretch.
But continue, sorry.
I feel like they have to have it as a separate thing, because the thing is with Fortnite is that the player base love complaining. In Fortnite, people are always complaining. That's why they had to put zero build mode in. People are like, oh my god, the building is too much, which I think it was. I play zero build mode only right now. So I feel like if they had it in the same sort of like lobby that some people were first person and some people were third person, people would complain too much that it was unfair, that people were like cheating and whatever. So I feel like they'd have to do it separately, right?
Yeah, I think that's the most likely outcome, is that you get first person mode separately. But Carl, playing Fortnite in first person whilst trying to take down a Titan, like these are all things that could potentially happen within the next couple of days. So Jasmine, I don't know if you've got any more thoughts on any of the other Fortnite leaks, but I think we've gone over the topic pretty well. Sadie makes a good point in YouTube. I have purposely avoided Fortnite on the Nintendo Switch. And speaking from experience, Sadie, I would say that's probably the best decision you ever made. Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2. It's expected to arrive later on this week when Season 1 comes to an end. Geralt was the secret skin for that season. We've got Eren Yeager potentially being the secret skin for this season. But is it Attack on Titan enough? Jasmine's not convinced.
No.
That was a perfectly placed no. I was in my full flow then, and then Jasmine had to get that little jab in. Okay, cool. Well, let's. Okay, well, we've got Adam L. I want to bring his comment because Sea of Thieves is a game I do play actually, and Adam's got a comment. He says Sea of Thieves had to get rid of the mixed servers for PC and Xbox players since Xbox players complained all the time about the mouse and keyboard advantage. That killed the game. I don't know if it would necessarily. Has that killed the Sea of Thieves game? Not.
I think it has.
At least not on Xbox. I know Sea of Thieves isn't really competitive though. So
maybe that's what it is because I had a lot of people that I knew that I didn't really play it much. I tried it one time and it wasn't really my type of game, but I'm a PC gamer and most of my friends are PC gamers too, and they sort of all stopped playing it. So maybe it has died out on PC, but not really on Xbox. Maybe that's where the divide is.
Yeah, you never really hear about Sea of Thieves like, oh, it's hit this milestone, it's done massive numbers and stuff. But I know they're about to celebrate their 5th anniversary, and Rare do an excellent job updating that game and keeping the now that they've added enemies that aren't just skeletons, tiny victories here. Yeah. But speaking about skeletons and everything apocalyptic, that was a smoother segue.
I'm so sorry.
Thanks, Jasmine. I could have gotten away with that too then, if not for your laugh. It's time to talk about HBO's The Last of Us. We've all seen it in some form or another, but there's another person who's also seen it and has some spicy takes on all things Last of Us, and it is none other than producer Will. Producer Will, who's we got the face reveal for last week. He's making his grand return to the show this week. How are you doing, Will?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, enjoyed the show so far?
It's been great. I've learned all sorts. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, I'll slip you that £20 later. Thanks for saying that, buddy. Cool. So yeah, The Last of Us episode 8. This is an episode heavily based in the winter section of the game. We get to meet David. We get to see Troy Baker, who's obviously the original voice actor for The Last of Us, playing a character called James. I'm just going to dive straight in with Will, get his fresh thoughts. What did you think of episode 8?
Wait, can we preface? Sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I think we need to preface with a spoiler alert.
Oh,
for
yeah,
anyone
very
who hasn't
true.
watched episode 8. We're going to be going into it quite in depth, so please be aware. It's going to be spoiled if you carry on watching. And back over to Will.
Thanks for saving the skin there. That is a very good point to make.
I mean, thoroughly entertained, as I am pretty much every week. It definitely took a sudden jump. I felt like every episode was sort of somewhere between a 12A and a 15, and this was just, it was like an 18 out of nowhere. It was so violent. And I know there's been violence in the show, but this was pretty extreme. But no, I was thoroughly entertained. I know we're building from source material. I feel like you have to preface that all the time because people are very much like, it's from the game. But I like the fact that it's not just, a religious commune. It's a religious commune with this, narcissistic leader who has this sort of violent streak and these other issues, and they're also cannibals, but only some of them know. Like there's so much going on that it's super entertaining. I do feel a little bit like, I'd heard some commentary around it and listened to a podcast, and people were saying that, the antagonist in this episode was one of the main antagonists from the game, and I was sort of like, oh, and that's just ended now. That's just one episode for this one antagonist. And I know it's an hour of television, but I don't know. I don't know if it doesn't feel rushed in terms of pacing, but it does feel like this could be more seasons. I definitely never feel like I just feel like I want more all the time. Is I guess what I'm getting at. Yeah.
You greedy, greedy person, Will. You want more all the time. HBO and Naughty Dog, they've made 2 games, and now you're getting 9 high-quality episodes, and it's still not enough. But in a strange way, I know exactly what you mean. Lewis, I can't remember if you've played the game or not, actually. Remind us. And so you've never played the game. What were your thoughts on episode 8, which I didn't mention is called When We Are in Need? So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think the series just gets better and better each episode. The performances get better and better each episode. I think Bella Ramsey was again fantastic. Everyone, lots of shouts for Emmy nominations. Give her an Emmy because, yeah, like I said, she just gets better every episode. And the people who doubted her playing Ellie are now, eating their own words because she's been phenomenal. But yeah, I think personally, this is one of my favorite episodes so far. I'd say because it's been not slow, but lots of backstories, building up, quite calm at times, I'd say as well. And people have been calling for more action, and that was always going to happen. And then obviously, like Will said, it felt like an 18 because it all came at once and it was full on. So I think that was great, and I think there's going to be even more action in the last episode, the next one. Sorry, so I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah I think. There was all little moments in this which I picked up on now because obviously I haven't played the game, so I can't notice Easter eggs. But like, there was all little moments in it which I started picking up on and really paying attention to details now. Like, it was like in an early episode, Joel mentioned to Ellie, like, it's not the infected, it's the people you got to look out for. And I think this was a prime example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think you bring up a good point, actually, in that a lot of viewers are complaining that there isn't enough like zombie action and stuff. But I think it was it episode 6 or episode 7? Will would probably know. Well, I guess we're on episode 8 now, so it might have even been episode 5, where at the end you just get the massive bloater, all the clickers pouring out from under the pavement. Like,
yeah,
that was the big zombie set piece, guys. Like, I doubt you'll get anything of that scale again, because there's only one way that scenario can go. Joel and Ellie survive by the skin of their teeth. Probably everyone else around them dies. So that's not as interesting as this human versus human conflict, which I think so far this episode has done the best job at. Jasmine, I know you mentioned that before we went live. You didn't really, I don't think you've played the game, and you didn't know that there was some cannibalism stuff involved in The Last of Us. So what did you think of the latest episode?
I think you kind of, because I'm a very big fan of The Walking Dead, I was waiting for it to happen. I was kind of like, okay, cannibalism has to come eventually because there's only like so many ways to survive, especially when it's like 20 years on from when the infection first occurred. There has to be a community surviving through cannibalism somewhere. And I was kind of just waiting for when it was going to happen, but I didn't realize that they were going to sort of do it the way that they did. I didn't think it was going to be a whole community of people that didn't even know that they were eating people. I was like literally taken back by that because I don't know, maybe I was overthinking a bit, but I was kind of like, oh my god, if that was me, I would literally, like, I wouldn't know what to do with myself after finding that out, that I'd been eating people. But I feel like that's probably what everyone would think, right? Like, I'm not special for thinking that, but it's kind of like, I don't know, I just didn't expect him to do it like that because my main point of comparison is, as Adam L says, Terminus in The Walking Dead, where they all know that they're eating people and they're all going out and hunting people and they take pride in the fact that they're eating people, and it's like, it's much more gory because it's like you literally see them cut someone's leg off and then put it on a fire and start eating it. Ooh. Which is like a bit much, but they know, and it makes them seem more like, you can hate them more. You can see them as bad people because they know they're eating people. So therefore, now they are bad people. Whereas this one, there was a bit more like the whole community wasn't full of bad people. They just had a bad leader. So it made you feel so much more sympathetic for them, even though they're cannibals.
I think David played a great villain. I think, the fact, like, I think anything like cult or cannibalism, like, it's always quite unsettling to me. And I think, even little things again, like when they're all around the dinner table, everyone doesn't know it's human and they're all devouring their meal. And he's obviously got the biggest plate of food and he's enjoying it. He's taking his time. It's like, it's unsettling, but it just plays into how bad of a guy he really is. And it makes, like I said, it makes it really unsettling and edge of your seat. And unsettling, but like, you don't want to take your eyes off it. You want to keep watching because it's good. Like...
Yeah, I mean, I could make the obvious joke and say that they did a good job fleshing out David's backstory here compared to the game, but I won't do that because I will say I really enjoyed this episode for the most part. But my the one big issue I had with it, if anything, the performances were great. Lewis is absolutely spot on. Bella Ramsey continues to kill it. I think Pedro Pascal has proved by now he can do no wrong. Whether or not you're covering his face up or not, whether or not he's got a little green dude or a little girl next to him, he's always going to kill it. But my main issue with this episode is that it wasn't additive in comparison to the game. It was like more so of a strict translation, which is the exact same problem I had with the Left Behind episode last week. But having said that, if you're a newcomer to this story and you haven't experienced it before, I feel like it did a great job of proving and showing to you that darker side of humanity. David in the game is a lot more sniveling and a bit more of a weasel, I will say. So they clearly went a different route with the guy who did a pretty good job playing David here. And Lewis, you're right. I hadn't picked up on that he's got obviously the biggest portion of food that he saved for himself, which is disturbing the more I think about it. More disturbing than FIFA 3 being rated E for everyone. But I was talking to a friend earlier, and he'd seemed to think that the twist of them being cannibals wasn't well telegraphed enough, because you're only meant to realize when, I guess, Ellie realizes when she's in that prison and she kind of looks at the dismembered ear in the ground, and then she kind of like gives David that look. But and then my response to him is that, well, if you go back and rewatch the episode again, knowing that they're cannibals now, specifically in that dinner scene, and obviously James and David, they're the only ones that really know what's going on. They're exchanging looks with each other, and that kind of that sort of thing carries more weight to it, which I think adds to the rewatchability, if I can get my words out. But yeah,
I think that's the first time they've done that in the show so far. Like, had a twist where it changes how you'd watch it in earlier part of the episode. I think that was pretty cool. Does it always need to be additive? Like, does it need to be every episode? Because you've already said like they've fleshed out David's story a little bit more. They've changed the type of character he was a little bit, and then obviously it being in a different medium is going to bring in a different audience, and obviously they're going to handle pacing and tension a little bit differently to the video game, just because of how, it's not going to be shot for shot. So is that altogether not enough to give it value, or does it need to be more different?
Way to make me seem like the bad guy, Will, pinning me into a corner here. But I'll take it. No, because you make a very valid point. Like, art should be able to stand on its own in any medium, right? And I feel like this show absolutely does. The problem is that in the first 3 episodes specifically, as someone who'd played the games, I feel like HBO and Craig Mazin, the showrunner, set me up for expectation, whereas this is the story but there's always going to be something more to it, ever so slightly, whether that be we get to see more of Sarah's day before she unfortunately comes to a tragic end in the opening of that first episode, or the way that Bill and Frank's story in episode 3 was handled. I thought that was so beautiful, lovely, and respectful to what happens in the games, even though it plays out very differently. And I would agree. I feel confident in saying that episode 3 is still my favorite episode. But then again, with the whole Sam and Henry stuff, you spend a lot more time with Sam and Henry in the game. They're with Joel and Ellie a lot longer, but the show was able to provide its own twist and sort of, to use perhaps overused expression, have its cake and eat it, in terms of we've got plenty here for game players, but we've got plenty here for new people as well, and we're kind of perfected that balance. And I'll stop emoting with my hands now. But Lewis, you seem to be enjoying the show so far a lot.
Yeah, and I think the point you make there is the problem that you'll always get with any adaptation to a video game. It's either it's too much like the game that people who haven't played it don't know what's going on, or are a bit confused at times, or left behind, whilst sometimes they'll try and take it too far away from the game to suit the people who haven't watched it, and then they'll be left disappointed of how it's not the same, or it's been too different and stuff like that. So, but like I said, I've really enjoyed, like you said then, I've really enjoyed it so far. As someone who's not played the game, I think I take in these stories better through TV or film than I do in a game itself. And I haven't played it, so I'm going to definitely give it a go, because I've enjoyed the show so much. But like, just touching on the character development and the relationship of Ellie and Joel as well, I think that was another big step in that in episode 8. Really good again, and I liked how it was Ellie saving herself at the end rather than Joel saving her as well. I think that was a perfect way for the episode to close out.
Yeah, I was wondering how they were going to handle that. Did that surprise you, Jasmine? Towards the end?
Kind of, but I feel like even if that wasn't how it played out, I think just the way that she was sort of like the sort of development it gave her to just be more independent throughout the episode, I think was still great anyway. Whether or not she saved herself at the end, I think it was amazing that she did. But whether or not she did do that, I feel like it still gave her enough development throughout the episode where it was like, you actually feel like, okay, this is Ellie's she doesn't need the protection as much as she did when we first met her. She's sort of becoming her own character that can look after herself. But one thing I did want to touch on is that Lewis mentioned is that you see sort of more of this bond between Joel and Ellie developing. And I think the thing is about Joel is he always acts like he doesn't care about Ellie. He's always like, oh yeah, like she's just this girl. She's not my kid. I don't actually treat her like my kid. But in this episode, you can see it, like the sort of like fatherly love that comes out, especially because she's not there. So he doesn't have to act like he doesn't care anymore. He can just behave however he wants to behave. And he goes on this rampage, like it really does show this other side to him that we don't get to see while he's around Ellie, when he just sort of tries to act like so cool. And I don't know why he's acting like that. Like, you can just show your emotions sometimes, it's fine. But
yeah, I actually think that I was talking to my partner and when I'm watching it, having this theory that he acts that way because obviously in the first episode how his daughter died and he was there and stuff, and I feel like he might feel if he started acting that like fatherly way towards her again and got a soft spot, that he put her in danger and he might end up leading her into death.
That is absolutely what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's him putting off, I don't want to have a repeat. I don't want her to get mixed up in my personal emotions. And so it's obviously always going to creep in at parts, and I'm glad it has because, it's been like beating around the bush a bit, hasn't it? And I think everyone's glad to see that relationship finally sort of blossom.
I think it was episode 6 where Joel actually gives Ellie the choice, where he meets it back up with his brother and he says, look, you can go with him or me. And without a second thought, Ellie's like, right, let's go. I'm with you, Joel.
She doesn't even think about it. And that's what I think is like, that was the first inkling where I was like, how can Joel still behave the way he behaves towards her when this is how she is? Like, instantly, she didn't even think. He said, oh yeah, if you come with me, we might get killed because I'm not as strong as I used to be, whatever it was that he was saying. She didn't care. She still wanted to go with Joel, and he was still sort of kind of like acting really aloof towards her. I was like, come on, man, just say it. Say what you want to say,
Yeah.
And I think she kind of needs that. She kind of needs that sort of like, because she's always lost people throughout her whole life. I think she really does need that validation from him that, this person cares about me. And I feel like this episode gave that to her.
I mean, if Pedro Pascal can be the internet's daddy, then surely he can be Ellie's daddy, right?
Right. So, Thank you.
Come on. Like, that seems to be the one through line that poor Pedro Pascal keeps having to ask at this point. But obviously, we've got one episode left. I feel like I agree with Will in some sense that 9 episodes has never quite sat right with me. Like, just make it a nice round 10. Like, whenever that happens, it's very strange. But obviously, I know what's coming. I've played the game. There is a lot to squeeze in. And at the same time, there isn't a lot. I'd be interested to see the length of the finale next week. Because I think the first episode was like an hour 20 or an hour 15.
Actually, I looked at that and I think it's shorter than episode 8. I think it's 51 minutes, I want to say. Because episode 1 was 87 or 81. So yeah, it was nearly a feature length, film length. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this last episode, if what I looked at was correct, it's one of the shorter ones actually.
When you put it like that, feature length, film length, that makes me realize that we actually are getting quite a big bang for our buck here, even with 9 episodes.
I didn't complain about it, but when I watched the latest season of Stranger Things, when I saw the length of the last 2 episodes, that's two films. It was the length of 2 films.
I think the issue is that like this episode and the last episode have basically been in real time. So in terms of the actual world, sometimes 3 months will pass and then you'll get an hour and a half in that world, and then so there's just entire periods of story that I'm wanting to see but not see. I love the show. I just think I don't know. I just feel like I want more. Yeah, I am.
But this is the thing, is that there's only so much where they can like keep going before it becomes too much. Because like this is the thing with The Walking Dead, it went on for so long that so many actors have left that they had to kill off all these characters, and now it's like I love The Walking Dead so much, and I still would love to see more, but it's like kind of like now they're having all of these different spin-off shows with all these different things happening, and it's like at some point like the universe has to end.
No, I agree, but there's a whole sort of spectrum between like one season and
of course. But like I just think that's like a example of a show that just goes on for way too long.
But that was the entire ethos behind The Walking Dead when Robert Kirkman started the comics. He was like, soap operas, this is that, but with zombies. Like it's in a world that we're living in, and it'll keep going and going and going.
Mm-hmm.
So that the TV kind of ran into a lot of problems because of that eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm still kind of shocked that the final episode is less than an hour. That seems like criminal. But I agree with Will, because in the game, the way they communicate the passage of time is through the seasons. So every so often it'll be spring, summer, winter. The show doesn't have that, and instead you kind of have to think about it a bit more like, okay, they're in the snow. David in this episode is mentioning, it's been this winter, as Nolan North says it as David, this winter has been mighty cruel. And that's one of my favorite lines. So I maybe they didn't do a good enough job to articulate it enough, but I agree with you, Will. Like this episode and the last episode, it feels like we've halted a little bit, whereas previously before there was this forward momentum a little bit. Ooh, someone's at the door.
No, that is how I feel. I mean, I haven't played the game at all, so I never know what to expect, or I didn't know how much story there was to build on to start with. But there's so many notorious parts that people are speaking about, and you're used to sort of seeing these things take place over multiple episodes or seasons. So to get it in a single episode, however long that episode is, I'm always just like, oh, okay, so this big antagonist that everyone's been excited about seeing, that's over now, we're done, next thing.
But then it's interesting hearing you describe him as a big antagonist, or that people are saying that online, because he does appear in just one season. He kind of is the closest thing to a bad guy, I guess you would say. But to round off this conversation, Jasmine's already had enough. She's got to attend to her cats. Obviously, I don't know if you guys have both watched the Next Time trailer teasing the finale, and it's all very dramatic and there's guns involved and stuff. But for you, what are you hoping to see in the finale episode by way of a resolution between Joel and Ellie as two people that haven't played the game?
I'll jump in there first. I don't have a clue what to expect. I'm not expecting to feel happy, or I've learned that by now that I shouldn't expect that. I'm hoping there's not going to be some sort of disappointing. They get the cure and everything's fine. But I don't expect to see that. I'm expecting, again, knowing nothing, to see some big sort of sacrifice from Joel, where sort of he saves her and allows her to walk into this safe place right at the end. But I've also heard little things here or there that make me think that won't happen. So I don't have a clue. I just want to be entertained, basically.
Yeah, as someone who's never played the game and stuff, I have no clue what to expect. Like, it didn't end on a cliffhanger in like episode 8. So I like Will said then, I sort of expect there to be some big moment which is not happy. So I feel like Joel as a character has progressed loads over the season, and you never know, it could be like in episode 2 when he left his was it wife or girlfriend, whatever, behind. It could be something like that where he's the one who makes a sacrifice this time. I don't know, but I think the fact obviously there'll be a season 2 as well. I can't see it ending on a happy note. I think it would end on sort of a sad note, which can then be built on in season 2. But I could be completely wrong.
Jasmine, I was just asking Lewis and Will, as people that haven't played the game, and I don't think you have either. Like, what are you expecting to see by way of how the Joel and Ellie arc and relationship culminates in next week's finale episode?
Honestly, I have no idea. It could go any direction, and this is exactly what Lewis and Will said as well. But that's it. Like, I have no idea. Joel could die. They could just kill him off, and I still would be like, yeah, no, I have no idea what's going to happen.
They can't do that to Pedro Pascal, can they?
They could, though. They could kill him off, and even if it doesn't happen in the game, they could still kill him off, and then have Ellie do season 2 by herself and carry on this arc of her becoming more independent and saving herself and looking after herself and stuff like this. But I feel like I really hope, the only hope I have is that it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. That's all. Because I get it, why shows do it. They end it on a cliffhanger to make it more like entertaining so that people will tune in for the next season, blah, blah, blah. But it's just annoying, I think. It's just like, just end it on a happy note or a sad note, not a cliffhanger, because I'm still going to watch it, season 2 either way. You know, like even if you end it on a cliffhanger, that's not going to encourage more people to watch. It's probably just going to put them off. I don't know.
Yeah, sitting here as someone who knows what's coming, allegedly, it is very, very interesting to hear your thoughts. Just chiming in before we round out today's show, Adam L. Has commented again. He says, Breaking Bad should be the shining example of when to end your show. Interesting that he says when, because I think that had 5 seasons, Lewis. You're nodding. I guess you're a Breaking Bad
it was 5
guy.
seasons, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even think there's enough material to get The Last of Us to 5 seasons at the moment. But it wouldn't surprise me because the show's been so successful if they have that in mind, HBO does. And then finally, Gigi doesn't want to spoil things, but she says that the end of the game was the right call in terms of some people's actions. What could it possibly mean? But honestly, it's going to be interesting when The Last of Us show does end, because correct me if I'm wrong, Will would probably know this, Jasmine too maybe, that The Last of Us has been running pretty much for as long as the Mirror Gaming walkthrough has been running. This is how we've ended the majority of our episodes. So
Yes,
you know,
it has, yeah.
Yeah, so as The Last of Us ends, the Mirror Gaming walkthrough will be entering its new era. So yeah, very, 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 very interesting. But anyway, guys, I won't keep you any longer. That just about does it for today's edition of the Mirror Gaming walkthrough. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to everybody watching, either on YouTube and Facebook, people in the comments, people watching, and of course, all my fellow colleagues that have joined me on today's show. Joining me today has been Lewis Barton, Producer Will, as he is properly known, and Jasmine Mannan. So thanks for joining me today, guys. I've been Aaron Potter, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough. Bye-bye.